Welcome to the River Hamble Harbour Authority's Learning Zone. The River Hamble is one of the busiest leisure harbours in Europe, with over 3,000 yachts and motorboats kept afloat, and many more kept ashore. The river is vital for the economy, providing jobs and leisure activities across the local population. But it's the people who've worked here over the years that give the river its unique history and significance.
So my name's Andy Beadsworth and I'm a professional sailor. I've been sailing since I was about 6 years old and 46 now, so that's relatively easy, 40 years. What brought me to the River Hamble was actually was sailing. I developed a love for it and was doing quite well at it at school, and I chose my university, Southampton, primarily because they had a fantastic sailing team and it was close to the sailing. So that's what originally brought me here back in 1986. And I've been here ever since, and I've slowly moved closer and closer to the river. Started off in Southampton town, then Titchfield, and now I've got a house only 5 minutes walk from the river, which is fantastic. So I got into sailing myself when the RYA had a trailer full of 6 Optimists, which they were sending around the country to all the clubs for all the kids to have a go in. So it was like a starter programme, and they turned up at our club and my dad put me in one and pushed me off from the dock and started shouting instructions, and I absolutely loved it, and it was a great place for me to use all my energies, as up to then I'd been creating havoc on the boat park and the car park around the club while my parents were sailing. So it was started off with sailing camps, which were just good fun really, learning to sail, camping, loads of other kids, and then got into racing sort of as I progressed through the game. The first time that I actually was recognised as being good at sailing was when I was about 9 years old, and I got selected for the under-10 team that went to the European Championships in Carantec. I didn't do very well, but that was the first time that I was sort of recognised as a potential talent. But then when I sort of arrived was really when I was doing the World Youth Championships, and I won the World Youth Championships in 1985. So that sort of put me on the map really, as so I had some idea of what went on in the sport. My Olympic experience started in 1985 really, when I won the World Youth Championships, and I didn't really know where to go next, and the next step on the ladder was to have a go at Olympic sailing. And a colleague of mine, Glyn Charles, who was given an opportunity in the sailing class and was looking for some buddies to go with him. So I went with him and we started our first Olympic campaign that culminated in us coming second to Laurie Smith in 1988. And after that I had another go with a new crew and different impetus, and we went on to eventually win the trials in 1995 for the 96 Games in Atlanta. And it was an important moment in my life because I packed in my job in 1995 to have a go. I decided I needed to change my lifestyle to compete at that level. And I was very lucky that it all came good, and I haven't been back to my original job since. We were 4th in Atlanta, narrowly missing a medal. It spurred us on for another campaign, and we went on to Sydney, where we were ranked number 2 in the world, European champions, and unfortunately had a bad day and ended up finishing 12th at the Olympics. So it's not a happy success story, but still 2 Olympic Games. Some of the toughest sailing experiences that I've had have been offshore sailing, probably. Middle sea race in a 52-foot dinghy, TP52 they call it, but it felt like a dinghy when we were offshore in a massive electrical storm, 35, 40 knots of breeze, lightning everywhere. I was pretty terrified when I was driving, and I was even more terrified when I wasn't. It's difficult to know what my proudest sailing achievement is, but the World Championship always stands out, and we've won 3 of those, starting with the World Youth Championships and then the actual World Championships and the Dragon World Championships most recently. Making a living out of sailing is not a straightforward, obvious career path. I think the most important thing is that you have to have a passion for the sport. You have to do a lot of it, and you have to be good at it. The most exciting thing about sailing for me is the fact that we go out and we compete. I'm a competitive soul. I've been competitive at lots of other sports. Sailing is where I've found my home, if you like, and it's the competition that I really love. But there are lots of other ways to enjoy the sport, and I think that's what makes sailing stand out above all other sports, is the fact that there's a lot of sports under the umbrella of sailing, from kite surfing, windsurfing, racing, cruising, Swallows and Amazons type stuff, all the way through to super yachts and America's Cup, foiling multi-hulls. It's a very broad spectrum. I think the most enjoyable thing about sailing is the camaraderie of all the people around the world that I've met. It's fantastic sport for people, and it's a real leveller across all the classes, across the ages, across the generations. That's probably the best bit about the whole sport, really.